Hey, thanks for spending some time with me today. In this episode, it's going to be fuel pipes, fuel pumps, fuel tanks, fuel systems. Hi, thanks for spending some time with me today. In this episode, we got a lot going on. There's a lot going on to get to this. For those of you that have followed, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The fuel system in this car was absolutely trashed. Right from the fuel tank, disgusting, the fuel pump assembly, the lines, the fuel filter, all that lot needed to be done. So in this episode, basically, we're going to do a lot of the finishing touches. You see me holding that fuel filler pipe up. We're going to recondition that, put that in. We're going to put the tank in. We're going to finally get the fuel pump assembly, brand new one, all assembled, which includes the sending unit, which runs the fuel gauge. You're going to see how disgusting that was, and we got it working. You're going to see that. You want to see that, actually. And what else? Basically, we're going to flush the lines, fuel filter, as I'd mentioned, and then finally, for the first time in a very long time, well over 10 years, I keep repeating that, but it's been a long time, and we're going to start this car. I hope. I guess wait and find out. So let's get going on that, and step one is basically getting that filler pipe in, or at least done up, and you're going to see where there's actually even a torch involved. Let's go. Well, while I'm at it, I may as well clean up the fuel filler pipe while I need to. It's rusted as well. So we're going to remove that, and to do that, a couple things. I'll remove the wheel, and we'll take care of this aftermarket mud flap, and then this splash shield, and then we can get access at it. So as typical, this is not only is it seized in, or rusted in, if I show you over here, you can see how it is, well, what it's attached to is just buckling like crazy because it's rusted out. So that's going to have to be fixed as well. All right. As expected, yeah, it broke the bolt, and so did that one in there. So tell me again why I work on these cars? I guess I somehow love to do it. So there it is, all in its glory. So you got to take these, I already loosened them a bit. Gotta take these Phillips screws off the neck here. These bolts here, more stuff that's gonna break. Yeah, that'll probably break too. And then it's free. And then I can probably sandblast the whole thing after that. But yeah, we got some drilling to do there. Some drilling to do there. Or I might get a heat on the backside, but we'll figure it out. So far, those didn't break. These aren't 6mm bolts. They're actually 8mm bolts, so that helps. But let's see if we can get lucky on this one. Okay, this bolt isn't moving. It's going to break. So I'm going to heat it up back here. But I want to remove this rubber piece, which I've got it loose now. So, life's always a battle, isn't it? There we go. Loosen this up a little bit. I'm going to heat the backside of these guys up with the torch, and hopefully they'll loosen. I'm pretty sure they'll loosen by doing it that way. Hey, that one's coming good. Uh-oh, it broke anyway. Damn it! Okay, the pipe's out. There, that one's out. That one's out. For this one, since I broke it off and there isn't much on the back to even grab, well, there's nothing on the back to grab, I have to drill it out, and then I'm going to use an easy out with heat, of course. So I've got all the ones that were broken off, right there, there, and up there. And I also chased them a bit with a tap. So those are good to go. I might clean this up a little more too, but the first thing, well, the next thing is we're gonna sandblast this, plus some of this stuff I'm gonna blast as well and make it look a little prettier. So these guys, we're gonna POR 15 them since I've got them all cleaned up. Make them look new and never rust again is the idea. Now that this pipe is all cleaned up, let's install it. Gasket on. I'm going to be using stainless steel hardware, so it can't rust. Of course, what I'm putting into it can, so I still am going to do some anti-seize on there, just to make sure that we never have any trouble removing these again after the trouble we did have earlier. Yeah, I know that's broke. We'll fix that. For now, the owner wants this on, so I did clean this up as well. And we'll probably end up taking it off eventually, but that for now, I'll just put it in, and I put some stainless steel hardware in here too, so it doesn't rust out when we want to take it off. So something I have to do is this. This is called a sending unit, and it actually is to see if your fuel tank is empty, full, or half full. It basically uses this, and then it has a little bit of a kind of almost like a potentiometer here. And yeah, you can see it's very corroded up. But believe it or not, this still can function. And I can do a test with it here. Let's just do that. It's just got to find the right wire. This guy here. And we'll try and find a ground. So it's not grounding out real well right there. But if I attach it to the here, you can see I have about 112 ohms. And then if I put it at the, it's called the full mark, you can see that it has 6.5 ohms. So you can, it works actually pretty well in here, this little slider here, but it's not making good ground connection, which is obvious why. So I'm going to clean this up, and then we should be good to go. So she's all sandblasted and ready to put back together. So let's put it together and see how well it works. I think it's going to work fine. So I got it fixed now. You can see how it's got 100 ohms there. And as we go down, it goes down to 6.2. If we go in the center, we got about 50 ohms. So it is reading properly. So we'd have a fuel gauge now. Next I have to test this to make sure this works still. So the new pump assembly is assembled basically now. Got the sending unit all wired in. I did test it electronically and it works fine. On test, I basically cut this cable and connector off of here. You can see where I cut here, and I put them in the appropriate locations. And I'll test it out again on using my meter, and we're good. But the best test obviously is to put it in the car and make sure that it operates properly. So that's next. So for testing, essentially I plugged it in, and as far as the fuel sending unit, what I'm going to do is it's on empty right now the way this sits, and I have been playing with it a bit here, but you can see when I do the fuel gauge there, now I'm going to put it into what is kind of full, I guess, when it's up like that, and it should start rising, and you can kind of see that it is rising as you look at it over there. So you notice it's coming up. I don't know if you can see that very well or not over there. I'll try to zoom in there. It's slowly creeping. Now it's not instant, and that's the way it is. Otherwise it would be going up and down when you slosh the tank around when you drive, but you can see that it's rising up to a full level, and I'm sure it will. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to turn the fuel pump on, and I can do that with my software that I got, and we're going to do that now. You shouldn't run this dry normally, and for a couple of seconds it's going to be okay, but don't do it very long if you do it. And we're going to step into here and connect, and we go to actuators, fuel pump relay. Now let's see if it runs. Listen. And it is. See, it's running? There it is, right there. Okay, that's enough. So we've tested everything except for the light, the low fuel light, which is this sensor here. So we're going to test that too. And you can see the low fuel light is on right now because it's not sitting in any fuel. So I'm going to simulate that by getting a little cup full of fuel and just putting it in and watch that fuel light go away. So I'm going to do my best to try and do this with holding the phone in one hand, of dipping it in without messing anything up here. This is hard to do. I think I got it. And so we've got it submerged now. I had to kind of work with two hands there, so I couldn't do it exactly, but you can see that. I zoom in there. The light is out. Let's see if I can pull it out here. Well, let's see if I pull it out now. Let's see if the low light comes back on. It should. There we go. I'm just gonna set this here, and we'll see if it comes back on. And it is an instant, by the way. It's got to dry out that fuel. So there we have the fuel light on right there. Again, after it's dry, I might test it just once more, but I think you get the idea of how I'm testing it. And basically dip that into my little fuel there, and it goes away. So yeah, it's good news. We're all working. It's all good, successful, and ready to put in when we put it in. So next on the list for the fuel system is to change the fuel filter, and it's located right here. Just going to remove it, and after we remove it, before I put the new one in, I'm going to flush all the lines out from that old fuel. I just want to basically blow them out with an air compressor and get rid of all that old fuel. And the best way to do it is once the fuel filter is removed, then I can just blow air through it and through the fuel rail as well, and then the return line, and then we can assemble it all back together. Here's a good example of two different kind of shaped, well, they're not really shaped differently, fuel filters, except for this top. Notice this is kind of like the way the OEM is. It's got this little groove or notch here. And what that is for is this is the actual fuel line that goes in with the banjo fitting. And it fits in there, so when you tighten it, it doesn't turn. So make sure that when you put this in, that it's shaped properly. And you're going to notice some kind of slots in here. Oh, I'm getting fuel all over the place. Great. Anyway, you got to make sure that that fits in the appropriate slots and that it's positioned properly. You'll see what I mean if you do it. Basically, you need this, because of this notch, particularly, this one won't matter as much, but in this one, you need this notch so that when this goes in, it faces the right way, and then that attaches to your fuel rail on that end. So just make sure you be careful and make sure it's all appropriate, and when you tighten it, you can see all the little slots here for the grooves right there. So just to show you the grooves, how this slot here fits in that groove, and this slot here fits in that groove, and then you should be situated properly. And there it is. I've just got this loose right now until I get that bottom fitting on there. I'm just going to leave it loose, and then I can tighten that up and then do it later. But before I do that, I am going to flush the lines before I put any fuel through this fuel filter, which is just blowing air through the lines essentially. And I forgot to tell you too, this other style filter has this little, it's kind of a generic thing that you can put in for your, basically your wrench would normally go. And this is a bit of a socket, but it also fits in. You got to line it properly for your banjo bolt here, like that, like so. So then you slot it appropriately and get it lined up that way. Very important when you put your banjo bolt back on the top here, use brand new copper crush washers. You don't want any fuel leaks around your engine. Definitely don't want that. So do it. Spend the $1 or whatever it is and just do it. Okay, simple flushing the feed line. Just putting the air compressor in, and I got a pail on the other side with a hose running to it, or a container, so I catch all the fuel too. So. And yeah, I stuck it basically a line on the feed line there from the inlet port. And yeah, you can see how much fuel I got in, and it's dirty. Now this was older fuel, but it was still good fuel. If you remember back in an episode or two when I had it running, this is the fuel I used. But I just wanted to make sure I got any crud out as well, just because this is pre-filter particularly. We'll do the same thing on this end as well. I'm actually going to take this hose off anyway because I want to check the fuel pressure once I get everything set up. And fuel pressure, basically I've got this little hose, or I used another stock fuel line, and then I put this adapter in which will connect to my test pressure meter, and then I can make sure it's got the stock pressure. I think it'll be okay, but I just want to make sure that everything's running well and it's where it needs to be, and that pressure regulator, fuel regulator, is working optimal. So the next line that I took off is this guy, which fit right there on the outlet of the fuel pressure regulator, and it's the return line. And I did the same thing, put a line basically to feed into a little container for catch any fuel. And same thing, we just basically put the air compressor in there and blow it out. Got the container here, and yeah, you can see where I moved it to the other return line. And then those lines are now flushed. Hey, let's get this tank back in after quite a lot of work in getting it back to normal. And then we can get the pump in, get the fuel system going, do a pressure test, and finally get this thing running on its own, which it hasn't for many, many years. Let's get this back in, right up here in this empty spot. after I filled the tank up with this, the one that I freshly cleaned and derusted, and you guys seen it in other episodes how bad it was, then shook the car around a little bit, sloshed it around in the tank, and then I drained it. And look at the fuel. It's clean. No rust at all. I just wanted to make sure that it's a good tank now and it's not going to cause problems down the road, and that tells me it is. Awesome. I don't know about you guys, but I am very excited to get it to this point, to put this fuel pump assembly in and do its final test on it before we actually start the car. Get it all connected up. I'm really looking forward to it. So let's drop it in and get to it. And I have a full tank in here now too. I know I've tested the fuel gauge already on this, but having a full tank in here will tell me exactly if it's going to work out okay. Let's drop it in. The new fuel assembly is all put in with the new fuel pump and everything's working. Got it plugged in. I have to put this plate on, so I have to unplug this and then put it back, loop this through that little hole there. You see? Anyway, for now I'm just gonna put it like this till I get everything hooked up. I gotta connect that main feed line underneath. And if you look over here, the fuel sending unit that I fixed is working. It's almost full, which is about the right amount of gas that I have in it. It is almost to the top, but there's definitely a few gallons that could go in it yet. So that's looking good. Let's get that feed line connected so we can test out the fuel pump next. Pretty simple what I got to do. This is a feed line here. I've already got an adapter for basically this hose fitting that's going to go on this guy. I just got to cut this line, put this in, put a hose clamp on, and then screw it in there. So I'm going to do that off camera, and I'll just show you when I get it all finished here what it looks like, and then we can test the pump. So that's the finished product. Everything should be assembled now. I think I'm going to turn on the fuel pump now without starting the car and just check for leaks. Speaking of leaks, this drain plug for the fuel tank actually had been leaking a little bit. I had to remove some stuff around here because there was a bunch of crud stopping the crush washer from sealing, even though I used a new one. So I cleaned everything up, put it back in, and it's got a full tank of fuel, been sitting overnight, and there's no leaks. So we're all good there. But now we want to add some pressure to the fuel lines and just see how things are sitting as far as when we do that. And I don't suspect I'll have leaks, but you never know. I'm also going to check the fuel pressure when I do that too. So let's turn it on. Listen. You can hear it. I don't hear any leaks. Just shut off there and only runs for 5 seconds or something. Let's see if we got some pressure in here. And we do. And we actually got, it's falling. It'll fall a little bit now that it's shut off, but it's at 36 right now pounds, which is the minimum spec. We're going to see when it runs exactly where it is. It needs to be 36 to 38 pounds, basically. Pressure at idle with the no vacuum at all and no pressure in the manifold. And you do that by disconnecting this little guy here, but we'll get into that once I check the pressure. Right now that I've got pressure in there, I want to see if I've got any leaks anywhere and start looking around here. Here's the feed coming right off the fuel pump. I've got no leaks at all, nothing at all when it's pressurized, so that's awesome. Yeah, good. Let's go up to the front. Actually, I'm going to go on top and see if the other side of this is leaking at all, just to make sure. May as well check all the fittings that I've done, so let's go on top. No leaks here. And also I had the return line checked as well. You can't see it in there, but I can feel it way in there anyway. I did check it and I've got no leaks. When we run it for a while, we'll make sure as well, but it's looking good right now that we got no leaks here. Back here, let's go to the front. Okay, I have this return line off right here. No leaks there. Again, we want to have a full running car and then check it, but I think we're doing pretty good right now. I'm just going to feel under the fuel filter. We're nothing down there, nothing on top. And then I had right in here joined too, and that's not leaking. So, and we still got a bit of pressure that's holding in there too. So we're good to go. I think we're ready to start this car under its own fuel system, all in the car, the first time in over 10 years. Let's hope it starts and runs. We had an ECU problem as well. Those were the big two things. The fuel system, the whole fuel system was bad, tank and everything. And then we had an ECU issue. And got it running that way, but now that everything's repaired and back on the car, this will be the first time that we actually have it running. So let's try it right away here. I'm excited. Well, here goes either something or nothing. We are running. All right. Computer's been off a bit, so it's gonna have to stumble a bit, but it's running. This is awesome. Check the pressure here. Oh, look at the pressure. We have about 38 pounds. So this is doing its job. I can put the actual other fuel line back in now that I know I got pressure, and check for the leaks on that, and get to work on other maintenance. You know, when it's really cold in the wintertime and you got to work in your car in the shop, and basically you're going to freeze to death keeping the door open so the fumes go out. Well, here's the solution for you. There is a solution for you right there. Door shut, engine's running. Follow it to the car, and it goes in the exhaust like that. Bonus, I'm not going to die. The fuel system's all functioning now. That was quite a battle for those of you that have watched all the episodes to get to this point. It's been a lot of work, but I am satisfied now. I did check to make sure there was no leaks after running it for a while. I brought the engine up to temperature. It is running a little rough. I did check the injectors at least at a minimum, just to the actuators, and they seem to be turning on and off properly. So I definitely got to do some tests like a leak down and a compression test on all 4 cylinders. But that'll come up in later episodes, and I'll be going through a few things to get this up to where it needs to be. Hopefully the engine's okay, but you never know. It's had a bit of a life. It's got I think a couple 100,000 kilometers or miles. I'm not sure. I have to look. But anyway, we got something to work with now, because this thing wouldn't even start before. I know the ECU is good. I know the fuel system's good. I know I can get it started. So it's a lot of fine tuning now, and I've got something to work with rather than a dead car. With this milestone, definitely a good time to wrap up an episode. Very pleased, as I said. Look forward to more stuff on this car. Certainly subscribe if you could, if you want to catch the rest of that. Very good news too. I've got some Lotus parts coming. They should be here hopefully in a week or 2. I'll show you that. There's 3 big crates, my understanding, to come in. So we're going to get on that Lotus stuff. A lot of you have been waiting for that, so stay tuned. That will be coming. So until all that happens, enjoy every day, and always make it right.